This is lesson 2.7, which is called decimals. We're going to be talking about place value, we're going to be talking about rounding, and we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting with decimals. In your notes packet, you should be following along and taking notes on pages 16 through 17 here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on page number 16. Place value is something that you've talked about for a while in elementary school on up. Decimal point is right here in the center. To the left of the decimal point, we have the ones place, followed by the tens place, the hundreds, and the thousands, and then we can kind of keep going in this direction, obviously, as well. Over here, we have what we call the tenths. So there's the THS at the end of it, the hundredths, thousands, the 10,000s, and the 100,000s. So we actually kind of used these ideas of these first two in our last lesson when we talked about converting back and forth between different forms. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple of these down here. In the first example, we're looking at the value of the 2 in each of these. So the first example, that 2 is right there in the tenths place. In number 2, the 2 is over here. It's in the third spot to the right of the decimal, which we call the thousandths place. And remember, the decimal is the fractional part of the number. So the tenths, the hundredths, thousands, and the 10,000s, and it keeps going. In this one, the 2 is in the hundredths place. I'm going to have you go ahead and take a look at number 4 right here. Where is this 2 located? The 2 is right to the left of the decimal spot, so we call this the ones place. This 2 is the second to the left of the decimal spot, so that is called the tens place. And finally, the last one, take a look at this 2. What would you say is its location? This 2 is, in fact, in the thousandths place. Nice job. All right, so we're going to find the mystery number here. We're going to actually build a number. So we have our decimal point. We're going to notice we have thousands, we have tenths, we have hundreds, and we have a 1. So the ones is actually going to go to the left side of the decimal point. Then we'll have the tenths, followed by the hundredths, and the thousandths. Taking a look here, I have 7 ones, and it looks like that's my only whole number part, so I'm going to put that there. I have 6 tenths, I have 5 hundredths, and 4 thousandths. Over here in this one, I also have ones, which is 2, 9 tenths, 4 hundredths, and 6 thousandths for that one. So your number is 2.946. On the next spot, we are going to talk, this is down at the bottom of your page for you. So we are looking at page number 16 at the bottom here, talking about rounding decimals. First thing that we need to do is when we're rounding is we actually want to figure out which place value is it that we're rounding to. So for example, if we're rounding to the nearest tenth, we want to figure out we're rounding this 6. And what we need to do is determine, are we going to keep this 6 at a 6 or are we going to have to round it up to a 7? It will never actually change down to a 5. That's just not possible. So what we do, since this is our place that we're looking at, we want to look at the next number. So we're going to focus in on this 3. And you've probably heard the saying, if it's 5 or above, give it a shove. And if it's 4 or below, you want to just go ahead and let that go. So since it is a 3, that would be 4 or below. So we're going to leave this alone, which means that my 6 is just going to stay. If I were trying to round to the nearest hundredth, that would be this 3 spot right here. So then I will actually be taking a look at the 6 that's here, and I will be rounding up in this particular case. So round the following numbers to the tenths place. So we are looking to have one number after our decimal point here. The 1, the 6 is going to make that go up to a 7.2. And in this one, for the tenths place, we're looking at the 6 to round up the 8. So that's going to be 7.9. I'm going to have you go ahead and try question number 3 here. And that 9 is going to make that 2 bump up to a 3 then. In the last one, we're rounding to the hundredths place. We want 2 numbers afterward. That 2 is going to make us just stay. 2 numbers afterward. So I want you to go ahead and round this one for me. That 2 is also going to make us stay, 5.57. And the last one, 4.84, that 3 is going to let the 4.84 stay the way that it is. Round to the ones place, the nearest whole number. This 8 right here after my decimal point is going to make this round up to an 8. Take a look at number 2. What is your nearest whole number going to be? Yeah, that 4 that's right there is just going to leave this to be a 3. And I want you to go ahead and take a look at number 3 then. Round to the nearest whole number. Even though there's a lot going on, there's still that 0.4, so this is still going to just stay a 4. Adding and subtracting decimals is over here next. Strategy for you is to make sure that you line up your decimals, put in your placeholder zeros if you have spaces, bring down the decimal point, and then go ahead and go for it. So we have 2 examples that are up here. I'm going to actually skip over them and jump into the next examples here down at the bottom where I have to set them up. So I'm always making sure that my decimal points line up. Notice I have an empty spot, so I'm going to add a 0 there just to hold the place. Carry down my decimal point and start adding, just going from right to left. Take a look at number 2. Go ahead, line those up and add your decimals. So I got 6.057, 3.48, added in that extra 0. 5 plus 8 is 13, 5, and 6 plus 3 is 9. In the next one, I have 56.85 plus 12.72. Line up your decimal points and start adding. Bring down my decimal. 6, 8, that's going to be a 9, and 5 plus 1 is 6 then. Down here at the bottom, subtracting is still going to work the same way. Only thing is we may need to do a little bit of borrowing. 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. Bring down that decimal, and 5 minus 4 is 1. So we have 7.333 minus 2.98. Add on a 0, so it's nice. 3 minus 0 is 3. I can't do 3 minus 8, so I borrow. It becomes a 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. 2 minus 9 I can't do, so I borrow. That becomes a 12, which is 3, and 6 minus 2 is 4 then. Last example that you have here on this one, 4.2 minus 3.496. I'm going to add on 2 zeros, borrow, borrow, and that's going to have to borrow to make that a 10. 4, 9 minus 9 is 0. 4, 3, borrow, 11 minus 4 is 7, and I get a 0 out front. So there you have it. That is your lesson on decimals with place value and adding and subtracting.